Hello, film world. I am the Patrick, your host of Tomorrow Comes Movies, the podcast that spoiler talks movies. And each episode, I'll be joined by guest co hosts from a roster of movie fans to varying degrees. Welcome back. So, we are really getting to our groove here with our action movies. And so far it's been a blast cuz I never know what people are going to choose. And I'm excited to talk about this movie. Well, let's not keep you in suspense anymore so we can talk about this movie. Please welcome back to the show, Tomorrow Comes Movies, Paul, aka Scooch Slam. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good.
Let me tell you one thing about the episode, by the way. The last episode we did was a Smashing Machine, right? I didn't realize that you were wearing a Nicolas Cage. Was it a Street Fighter mesh up?
It was a Street Fighter mashup. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I went and looked at the final proof of the episode. I go, the whole time Paul was wearing a Nicolas Cage shirt. We're talking about Nicolas Cage, and I didn't even notice. But this time, I see you have another Nicolas Cage shirt on.
Yeah.
What is this shirt?
This is the three cage moon. It's all the faces from Empire's Kiss.
I pride myself of knowing, when it comes to movies, like paying attention to details. And yeah, I spoke to you for about an hour and 40 minutes and didn't even notice that you had a Nicolas Cage shirt. This time I want to make sure that I see it. And I have to say that I do love your Nicolas Cage shirts. I just want to know, where are you getting these shirts at? Are they selling these official merch of Nicolas Cage?
They're from T Public.
Oh, T Public. I think I have one or two shirts. Let me ask you, do you buy a lot of shirts from T Public?
I do.
How long do they last for you?
Pretty long. I mean, I wash them a lot, but they're fine. The print's good.
Oh, okay. So I've had a couple because like the prints, they always look good, but like after like two washes, they're coming apart. So that's why I wanted to ask you because I'm like, I don't know, maybe I guess two different orders that were not the greatest, but yeah, they don't last. That's why I stopped buying them. But you said that you wash them a few times and they're still rolling, huh?
Yeah. The Cage Fighter shirt was um a drop, like a secret drop for some site. I don't know which one it was, but that's a real high quality.
So you're back on the show. So we've already done your introduction, but I'm going to ask you just a couple questions here as it relates to the theme. What are
Okay.
some of your favorite action movies?
I really like action. I didn't really get into action until mid 2010s because I was really into horror. But some of my favorites are Avengement with Scott Adkins. Sorry, Guns Akimbo. I had another one I do, of course. Haiti, which is a 2019 Indian movie.
I don't think I've seen any of those movies, but I do know who Scott Atkins is. And a Guns Akimbo, is that with Daniel Radcliffe?
Yes, it is.
Oh, very good choices. Like I said, one thing about you, Paul, we know you're thinking outside the box. We're over here expecting the generic action movies, but you dropped three that myself and hopefully the listeners are like, what is that? And we'll go check it out. Okay, so here's another question. Which of these movie directors do you think is best at creating and capturing action? And here's a list: John Woo, Michael Bay, James Cameron, David Leitch, George Miller, and Chad Stahelski.
John Woo.
Enough said. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Paul. Yeah, John Woo's my guy. Yeah. I mean, everybody on that list has done some sort of action. Some are more iconic than the others, but it's hard to beat John Woo. Trust me. I just saw a movie that made me go, pretty sure John Woo's influence was like all over that movie, and it was by another big director. And let's see here. Okay, I'm going to give you 6 action movies, and you have to eliminate one of them from this list. Here are the movies: The Fast and the Furious, the original Die Hard, The Rock by Michael Bay, John Wick number 1, or actually, excuse me, John Wick number 2, excuse me, John Wick Chapter 2, A Better Tomorrow by John Woo, and The Bourne Ultimatum. Which one of these will you eliminate from the list of action movies?
Or an ultimatum.
Whoa! Whoa! Was not expecting that. Wow, I love the Bourne Ultimatum. So that stung a little bit, but that's okay because we all have to be different with our taste. Because if we're all the same, life wouldn't be fun. Just curious though, why did you choose the Bourne Ultimatum?
I have some bad memories tied to that franchise.
Oh, okay. You want to know which movie I thought for sure you were gonna choose?
What?
The Fast and the Furious.
I really like that movie. I mean, as far as action goes, I don't think it's top notch, but it's just a lot of fun popcorn flick.
I do like the Fast and the Furious. I'm not gonna lie. I do have a special place in my heart. I get, but the Bourne Ultimatum. While you said you had some bad memories tied to it, I have amazing memories tied to it. I love the whole him jumping from one building to the other to beat someone up with a book. But that's the fun part about these questions. I never know what guests are gonna pick for their answers. And so that concludes this little mini action introduction. And we're going straight into the movie, Paul. You're like, what? Mister, we're going to do an hour of my intro? We're only less than 7. We're about to hit 7:30. That's crazy. But the thing is, if you really want to get to know Paul, I highly recommend, if you haven't already, check out the Smashing Machine because you really get to hear a lot about Paul. And if you ask me, Paul should be the spokesman for Film Twitter, as I said in that episode. But in this one, we got to know a little bit about your action background. We're doing a theme.
Tomorrow Comes Movie Podcast presents Woo. Now that's what I call action.
And it's all about action movies, big explosions, crazy stunts, gun and fist fights with little use of martial arts, car chases that are exhilarating and exciting, and one hell of a good time. And so you are going to be launching a movie that, when I had saw it, by the way, and I had put on the list for you. Actually, you're the only person that gave you the list with this movie. I thought maybe you would pick it. I'm gonna tell you before I announce it what it is. I was kind of nervous after I picked it because I was like, "Oh no, this would have fit another theme I have." But luckily, it does not feature an extensive amount of something I just mentioned that this theme has little use of. But we are going to review Kill, which I believe came out in 2023, but in the US, it didn't come out till 2024. So here are the movie facts for Kill. And it's so funny because I literally just said that, and it says right here, released on July 4th, 2024 in the United States. Primarily, the language is in Hindu with some English used. It's directed by, I'm not going to lie, Paul, this is going to get real hard here, Nikhil Nagesh Bhatt, and it stars Lakshya Raghav Juyal and Tanya Meniktala. I'm pretty sure I butchered every word except Tanya, right? But they deserve to have their names mentioned because these are some of the main characters, and I really enjoy their performances. And let's see here. Oh, the synopsis of the film. Two commandos on a train to New Delhi have to deal with invading bandits boarding the train. If you haven't seen Kill, go watch it, come back here or not, it doesn't matter. Paul, you ready?
Ready?
Let's talk movies. Why did you choose this movie from the list I gave you?
I love Hindi films, and it's one I hadn't seen yet. And I know it was atypical films because it doesn't usually have the song and dance number and longer run.
So, real quickly here, as we get into this review, you're kind of experienced already, so you know some of these questions might seem similar, but after you watched Kill, what were your first impressions of the movie?
I really enjoyed it. It was a lean action.
This was your first time watching it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I saw this. I had the fortunate luck that as I'm writing notes, I go, wait, I reviewed this. I saw it in theaters and I was like, let me go see. And I didn't remember when it came out. It did come out on I saw it on July 9th. So for me with Kill, it's exhilarating, stylish action film. But there's so much more to it. That's what I really loved about this movie, right? You get this insane, really well choreographed action, but you get this really emotional story about love. And I was just blown away by this movie. It's one of those movies that I saw the trailer, right? And I go, yeah, it's up my wheelhouse. But then you realize it's so much better once you see the movie. You're like, this was a real deal. And I heard a lot of hype coming up with it when it was about to release back in 2024. But yeah, this was a very good action movie with a good runtime, I would say, right?
Perfect runtime, in my opinion.
Now, with Kill, what were some of the highlights for you with this movie?
It was a really emotional story with a good action, and I think it had a lot to say about violence and how like nobody's really a winner in these types of situations. And I really enjoyed that it was more like a siege film, like The Raid, Raid 2, Assault on Precinct 13, even Die Hard.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was like, is Die Hard coming? Yeah, it definitely has a Die Hard vibe, which is really hard to duplicate. Die Hard, we've seen it. Everyone's tried to do a version of Die Hard. And some have worked and some haven't, but it's really hard to really come close to Die Hard because it did something so original. But Kill, I think it's pretty close. And I like that you point out about how like there's really not a winner in violence. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool action flick, but yeah, unfortunately, our main character Amrit has to use his skills as a commando to save people on this train because bandits have taken over. It's not like he wants to do this; he's forced to do it. And truth be told, I think he's justified in why he has to use this violence because of what actually transpires. So with Kill, he boards this train with his friend. I think his name was Varish, and basically there's a girl named Tulika. I think her name is Tulika, and she's in pretty much involved. She's in a relationship with Amrit, right? But it's not official. And I guess when they go to commando work, they don't take their phones. They put they have to turn it in and all that. And so he must have been gone for an extended amount of time. And Varish is like, you need to call Talika once they get back from their duty. And it turns out Talika is getting set up in an arranged marriage, right? So he devises this plan with Varish to go down there and get her so that she doesn't do that, ends up being with him, but she says no. And then she's going to New Delhi. So he follows her on this train, right? Technically, if you ask me, probably the best thing that happened was him just not telling her he's going to be on this train. But there's this emotional aspect to the train. So, of course, when the bandits take siege of this train, audiences are concerned for our main characters, right? We're worried about Amrit, Varish, Talika, and her family who's on board, including her grandma, mom, father and baby sister. And I do have the names here of the sister, Ahana. I'm probably sure I'm butchering that. But yeah, for me, with the highlights of Kill is how, like, we get this insane action, right? We get this really well crafted action, but they take the time to marinate the emotional aspects, the dramatic parts of the story that make you really, really invest in this movie. Because don't get me wrong, I love a good action flick where, it doesn't have to have a whole lot of meat on its story. But when you give me good, lean meat and it's just delicious, that's gonna really make me wanna enjoy your movie more, and this did with this whole relationship with Talika and Amrit, you know? Unfortunately, things get rough, but yeah, I like that aspect. I love the action, the way it's filmed visually, the editing and the visuals along with the fight choreography. It is like it's like watching a trio at work of masterclass, masterclass in filmmaking. It's just phenomenal work. I also love the villain. Shockingly, I like the main villain whose name is Fani because you need a good villain to help make a really good movie because then you're really rooting for the bad guy to fall. And I liked Amrit as well. And so those are some of my highlights. Now for you with Kill, was there anything about it that you disliked with the movie?
No, not really. I enjoyed it.
Same. Same. Isn't that funny? Like it's such a thrill ride and I think it's well paced that you can't help but kind of get swept up in this movie. And I don't think there's really anything bad about it because it's pretty clear cut in what it's doing. I think there's more to it than what many people thought going into this movie. I don't know about yourself. When you saw this, it was your first time. Were you expecting so much emotional aspects of the story, or were you just thinking it was going to be a straight up action movie?
See, I had heard that it was brutal, forgiving, really good action. It has so much emotional weight in it.
Yeah, that's funny. I also heard about the brutal. Yeah, I heard it was really brutal. I mean, a movie called Kill, you assume should be pretty, pretty intense with the kills. But yes, that is true. I forgot to talk about the brutals. Now, yeah, with the action, if you had to classify it, is there anything else besides brutal, or is there any like maybe over the top, or is there anything, or are you just like this is a brutal action movie?
I think it's brutal. I don't think it's over the top. I think it's raw. Like he's not being he's a commando, so he's like ethical and stuff like that. But there is nothing about that in this film.
Yeah, actually, yeah, and actually, probably another highlight that I did mention was Amrit as a character. He's not portrayed as invincible, despite being a well-trained commando, right? The thing about this movie that really works is he's not invincible. Like we see him vulnerable. Like we see him get emotionally caught up like the rest of us when something traumatic has happened. When he sees, we're gonna, this is a spoiler heavy podcast. Talika gets stabbed multiple times and then eventually to death by Fani before he throws her off the train, which leads to this magnificent slow down shot from that whole stabbing and that whole reveal to the other side where Amrit is fighting this what I call him the tall big dude. That's what I kept calling him throughout the whole movie. The tall big dude is ridiculous how big this guy was. That he kind of he sees what happens and he loses control of the situation and that vulnerability leads him to get hurt. And that's something with action movies. I don't know how you feel about it, but sometimes action movies can get lost in the sauce by allowing their main character to be too invincible or like they can't get hurt. They can't ever make a mistake. And in this movie, I think Amrit makes many mistakes, even being a well-trained commando, but he's able to still maneuver through the situations. And I think to me, I don't know about you, I'll ask you after this, but like if they had made him too invincible, and not able to like deal with the emotional aspect by filtering it out and just concentrating, I don't think this movie would have worked as well as it did.
I agree with that. a lot of Hindi action films, their protagonists are like invincible. They're almost like superheroes, and this just felt so real and grounded.
Oh, I see. I would not have known that. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think being grounded was a way to go. So with Talika's death by Fawny, were you expecting that? And how did you handle that? Like I was emotionally destroyed. I was very angry at Fawny, and but though it was beautifully captured, by the way.
I was devastated. I was not expecting that, but that's the catalyst for the rest of the movie, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very unexpected, right? Because you didn't think that they would go there, but in a way, it has to happen because if it doesn't activate Amrit's kill mode, right? Like it doesn't like because he's a different guy. It's a different guy, and of course, it kind of goes into like a revenge kind of part of the plot where he's like, now I gotta take out all these bad guys. Who, by the way, this bandit is a family business, I guess, because like everybody's related to one another. So I wanted to ask you, let's say you're in Fawny's family, you're part of the family, and you're this is a bandit business, and you're old enough now to partake in the bandit business. Do you think that you're joining them, or do you think you're asking to maybe do a different career for yourself?
Probably a different career, but if I had to be part of it, I'd be the guy turning on the cell phone jammers and just showing them the other trades.
Yes, I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, I want to be the Wi-Fi guy. I'm like Fawny and Fawny's dad. I'm like, yo. What's Fawny's dad's name actually? Oh, Benny. I'm like Uncle Benny because I'm assuming that I'm a cousin. I'm like Uncle Benny. I don't think I'm standing next to a tall big dude. I'm only like 5'3". Do you think I could just power on the Wi-Fi and pretend I'm part of the group? Yeah. I don't think I would want to be part of that family business. In fact, this movie proved to me that the Fawny family, that's what I'm calling them, they needed to rethink their whole business plan as a family because it's not sustainable. Clearly, by the end of this movie, I don't even know who's left alive because it was insane. But yeah, it was crazy. I didn't expect them to all be family members. What about you? Did you think they were all going to be related somehow?
No, I didn't.
No. I mean, and you know, these bandits are kind of ruthless. Like when they get on there, like I thought they were just gonna rob people, right? No, they're actually hurting people. And Fawny is our main villain, who I really dug. I thought he was a charismatic villain, right? And he was willing to do whatever it takes to have the upper hand. So he's willing to cross the line, which was complete opposite of Amrit. Amrit is our hero of the story, right? And he is really, really trying his best to succeed without hurting people. Because in the beginning, if I'm correct, he doesn't kill anybody until Talika dies, and then it's a whole different ball game. And yeah, what did you think of Fawny?
Very interesting villain. Ruthless, and very like backhanded and just cruel guy.
Yeah, I mean he's charismatic, right? But he's also kind of not likable. You know, he yeah, and then like the thing that made me laugh about him is you kind of get an idea of why he's like this because in the midst of this action flick that has a lot of emotional stakes and emotional aspects of the story, we're getting like a little mini story that doesn't really it's not the main focus of the plot, but it definitely shows you a little bit of the character development. Is Fawny and his dad Benny have some weird relationship where and we see it all the time. This is not like it's new. This is something that many people deal with where dad and son don't get along. And it seemed like, correct me if I'm wrong here, it seemed like Fawny felt like his dad kind of neglected him in some senses. Like I guess he doesn't show enough care to him, except when it comes to his life on this train that he wants to protect him. And Fawny seems to indicate that there's no real show of affection outside of this, right?
Correct. There's no connection between him and his father. It's just cold and sad.
Yeah, except when the thought of Fonny dying, and then Benny's like, "Hold on, let's get him off the train. Let's get him off the train." But there's some animosity there between them, and I think that also makes the case of why Fonny is a really good villain because he's upset. It seems like Benny, obviously the dad of Fonny, he runs the whole bandit group. Uncle Benny is running it, right? And I think the problem with Fonny is he's the young buck who wants to challenge the old buck, right? And the problem with him is Benny's is calculated in trying to methodically plan these bandit runs on the train, right? Where Fonny seems to be the type who's impulsive. You're not entirely sure what you're going to get with him, and of course that collision with his father, with being careful, and you have impulsive, it's eventually not going to be sustainable. And of course it doesn't, because if Fawny did not kill Tulika, right, I would actually know the entire family would have been spared. I think that they probably some of them might have died, but Fawny making the impulsive choice, because by the way, it really never says anything good about you as a guy that a woman who isn't gonna just let you hurt her defends herself, and you felt challenged, so then you had to take it to the next level. And to me, that's why he's a good villain, because he crosses the line. Even if you don't want him to, right? I didn't want him to kill Talika, but he had to. Because if not, then it would have not been Kill. The movie would have been called Hurt, right? Like it would not have been, and so yeah, yeah. Do you think that Fonny and his dad Benny, do you think they should have do you think they should work together, or you think maybe Benny made the mistake of having Fonny, have a big role in these bandit runs, knowing that the relationship is not good?
I think Benny made a mistake because Fawning is too reactive and impulsive.
Yes. Yes, but as an audience we love it. But as for a brief moment, we look at Amr, we're like, "Oh, this sucks." And so, yeah, I just want to know if you caught that, and clearly you did. It was so funny watching them argue, because at any moment did you think? I thought for a moment that Fonny was going to kill his dad and take control of the whole bandit run. Did you ever think that at all?
I didn't think it was out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, right. When it comes to Fonny, I mean, we never know what he's going to do. I mean, he even gets at one point the dad gets him off the train, saves his life, while all his cousins are not going to be spared. They're going to end up dying, and Fonny, like you said, impulsively can't handle it. He has to get back on the train. I mean, not gonna lie though, he had a really good entrance when he came back in. He's like, "I'm back," and he just kills the police, and a part of me, I'm not gonna lie to you, part of me started clapping when he showed up, because I'm like, "You son of a bitch, you're totally going downhill, dude." When you got back on that train, but you have to admit he's charismatic, right? Like you kind of have a little bit of respect for him, that he's willing to play the villain 100% at capacity, right?
Right.
Right. Now, what was your favorite action sequence in Kill?
Right after the title drop, it's just like 10 minutes of mayhem.
Yes. There's a lot, it's funny, there's a lot of sequences. I was going through this, like there was a lot of sequences. And I'm trying to think. Oh, which one I really liked? There's a couple that come to mind, but this one I'm going to highlight, I guess I would say, is when you're in a movie where you kind of have only like one setting, and this is basically taking place on a train, right? It presents challenges while also opportunities for creativity, and how do you choreograph a really good action sequence, right? And so I was curious to see when I first saw this, and then to revisit it, like how, kind of refresh my memory, how are they going to do it, right? Because you can do it, but it can always fail. It can always be like, yeah, it's kind of dull. But in this movie, there's so many sequences where it's never dull. It's like, whoa, Like you said, you had mentioned the Raid movies earlier. Yes, same vibes where
Mhm.
you're just in astonishment for how good they are. So here's a good one. I don't know if you like this one. Was when he fought the two guys in the restroom. It's insane how well it's visually shot and edited where, like, it's really confined space, but yet they have enough space to really maneuver the fighting. And also, it's crazy. I think Amr picks the guy up and basically head first into the toilet and gives him, like, kind of like a swirly. I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure he should have been dead after that, but he doesn't die. And then he ends up slamming his head in the toilet. And then the other guy, right before all this happened, he falls down on the floor and he kills him with the door. I love that scene. Or another scene that came to mind because it's hard to pick a favorite, but I'm just gonna highlight a couple. Was when they did the curtains in the dark and the goons have to the bandits, I guess I should call them, send in front of them civilians. Like that is a scary scenario if you're one of the bandits, right? Because you don't know where Amrit is. But I do agree with you. The 10 minutes of mayhem of him going through these guys, I mean, it's pure adrenaline, it's pure entertainment, it's pure excitement, and it's like pure hell yeah. Like I you can tell how jacked up when you were like you messaged me earlier like I'm excited to talk about this. You probably had no idea how much I love this type of action movies. You know what I mean? What part of Kill did you think was the most insane scenario?
When Amrit hangs the bodies from the top of the train like some kind of haunted house butcher's locker.
Yeah, that is, so I didn't think of it till now. Yeah, that was kind of a horror element to it, right? Because that has got to be horrific. Because as we said earlier, the bandits are all family related, and this is really funny too. I'm going to ask you this question, but as family members are dying, it specifically seems like a lot of dads are dying in this movie, right? A lot of the uncles are dying, and the dads, and the kids are really upset and they're crying, and it's really hitting them as emotional as it was for Amrit and the audience to see Talika die. Let me ask you real quickly here: did you ever at one point feel bad for any of the villains, the bandits, when they lost family members?
Absolutely. I don't think there's one death in this movie that isn't an emotion that doesn't have emotional weight to it.
Yeah. I never felt 1 ounce of empathy for them. Like, I understand. That's the thing about this movie that really is good, though, is it shows you that even if they're bad or good guys or just civilians, we all react the same when it comes to death of somebody we care about. We're emotionally distraught, gut-wrenching, right? But, yeah, I never once felt bad for them. Like, every time they were like, "They killed my dad," I'm like, "Yo, your cousin killed Talika. You know that this is what's gonna happen." So, like, yeah, I never felt bad, but I understand what you're saying. But yeah, I just wanted to know. I was curious on that because I'm just like, yeah, I had zero empathy for any of these guys. But I on a human level, I can understand that they lost somebody traumatic. But Paul, don't start none, won't be none, right?
Right. They deserve the deaths, but that doesn't take away the weight of it.
Exactly, and that's why I'm glad that you mentioned that because I'm in revenge mode, as you can tell. I'm like, let's go. I'm right behind Amrit, ready to get my one punch in. Like he's like, whoosh, whoosh, and I'm like, all right, I'm out. I'm gonna go back with Varish. You know what I mean? And so here we go. What else we hear? What was the wait? Actually, you know what? Did I answer what mine was? I don't think I answered what my insane scenario was, but that was a good one. You did call out a good one. I'm trying to think. What was the most insane scenario? Is I'm trying to think here. It was probably the most insane scenario for me was when he he takes on the tall big dude, right? And I thought each time that they went to battle, it was insane because I don't know what was going on, but Albert was on a roll, right? He's on a roll, mayhem. He's killing all these dudes. Tall big dude had his number for like 3 to 5 times they exchanged, right? Like it was getting out of control. Like, and I love they're the one. Well, it happens multiple times, but when they're fighting, they're kind of having to like throw into the compartments. But I do have actually, I did catch it as I was talking about. You know what the insane scenario was? Was when the big dude I thought was really getting the upper hand, and then the revenge factor comes in when the mom of the teen that got murdered by tall big dude and the friend attack to help out Amr who's about to get thrown off the train, and they kill him. Like, isn't that satisfying? I know that sounds wrong. We're talking about somebody getting murdered, but it's just a movie. But it was so satisfying that the mom got to kill, because in that movie, something you brought up, even if they deserve it, the weight of the deaths are really prevalent in these movies, because when tall big dude is trying to kill Amr, he's saying to him, "Why did you kill my dad?" You know? And then when the mom and her friend kill tall big guy, they say, when he's as they keep bashing him, "Why did you kill my son?" And it's kind of like a full circle moment, like you said, about this emotional weight. And this is something that I think American filmmaking can really look at as inspiration, because I think sometimes the international films and TV series, but mostly films, because it's a movie podcast, I think they understand the emotional weight, like you were talking about, of dealing with traumatic things. Even if you don't like the character, you still feel something. And I don't know if you noticed that, but American filmmaking, I don't think, has been able to reach that level of success of late in terms of that. Because I think, like, the villain, like a villain, something happens and it doesn't have the same wave. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. I don't think America has the pathos down of emotional film, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's not a diss, because we're Americans, like, we love American movies, but yeah, it's good but it's something we're pointing out that I think can be an improvement, because I shouldn't be as emotionally invested in Kill and everything that's happening with Kill, because it's just I mean, because, like, F those bad guys, they killed Talika, but you're right, like, I'm like, oh, that is kind of messed up. Like, I just realized they lost the entire family tree, I mean, even if they deserve it, and I think that is something that Kill does better than most action movies, I would say.
Another thing I would like to say is I don't think we're as in tune with American movies as we are when a foreign film, because we're an outsider looking in, and things tend to stand out for us when we're watching foreign films and American films. We're used to it. We're
Yeah. Wow, that's a really good way to look. Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah, we're looking at it differently. Yeah. Look at you, Paul. Paul's got it together. That's why he's the spokesman of the film community, as I said. Vote 2026 to 2020 or 2030, excuse me, for him to run it for the next 4 years. Did you on there? What performances in terms of acting really stood out to you?
Lakshya and Amrit and City as the big tall guy. You
Yeah, yeah, that's his name, City. City was good. Like, I was like, I mean, that's a big dude, big imposing dude, and he plays a real good badass until his father dies, and he's like a mess after that. It always happens. Yeah, but I did like Amrit, the actor who played Amrit. Fani, like, I could talk about him all day. I mean, just really good. But Talika was really good. You know what I mean? Now with Kill, there's a second part of the story during the Kill activation mode where Talika wants him in the beginning of the movie, wants him to find Ahana, her sister, who was supposed to go to the restroom one side, but when the bandits told her to go to the other side, so she ends up in a different part of the train when this happens, which is terrifying, because the bandits just wanted to steal things, right? But when they realize that Talika and Ahana, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not. Their
Anna.
father, let me see what their father's name was. Um, Baldio Singh Takar, he apparently is a wealthy man who owns Sing Transportation. So they now it goes from we're just gonna rob and loot and hurt people to get get some things for now to into let's kidnap the family and get some money, right? And so with the sister aspect, were you anticipating that they were going to figure out her sister was in their midst without even realizing it for a long time? But did you think they were going to figure it out sooner than when they did?
I thought they were going to figure out Anna was related to them and ransom her as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. We go back to Fonny real quickly here. He wants to kidnap the family, right? Wouldn't it make sense not to kill Talika? Right? It works for us with the story, but like it was kind of crazy that he was willing to kill her when it probably would have been in his benefit to hold her hostage, especially to get her dad to do more or whatever they want to do because parents will do whatever they want for the kids, right?
It goes back to his impulsiveness. He's not thinking.
That's right. Exactly. It goes back. Yep, exactly. And that's why Benny needed to be on the train from the beginning because this is what happens when you let your child, who's an impulsive person, go into these missions when you're just the planner, right? Benny should have been on that train. That probably would not have happened, right, if he had gone on sooner.
Exactly.
Now, in the movie Kill, they want to some of the family bandits have decided maybe we should get off the train after they realize that they've entered a massacre with Amrit, and they opt not to because they think that if they get out, they'll be chased till the end of time. You're in the group. You're in the Fonny family. Well, you get your one moment to shine by speaking up. Are you speaking up that you want to get off the train, or you think you're just like, I'm rolling with the whole family until the end?
I went off the train. But in a lot of these movies, as it goes, when there's high profile politicians and entrepreneurs and stuff like that, there's a lot of revenge and you might be running for the rest of your life.
That is true. They do allude to that. That's why they don't get off. Except when Benny lets out only a few select members when the train kind of slows down, right? And of course, Fonny is one of them, right? And we talked about that earlier. But yeah, I am with you. I would want to get off the train, and I think I'm willing to take the chance that I might get killed later. But if I have to weigh my options right then and there, I'd rather that happen than have to go into the next car over of the section of the train and have to face Amit after he just hung dead bodies. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. To me, I was just like I would love to know a backstory of the Fonny family of how this all became with them getting to a bandit looting business, right? Like usually like with families, there's like, there's some parts of the members are bad seeds, right? They do bad things. But like in this family, it seemed like every man in the family was like, as soon as they hit a certain age, they were eligible to do looting and vanity, work. And I'm just like, I feel like I would be the one kid that's like, I want to go to college, dad. And he's like, you gotta go talk to Uncle Benny because he's like not gonna let you do that. Like, I don't know, it was crazy. Yeah, I would want to have gone off um, the train here. Let's see what other questions we have here. What do you think about the visually and the editing aspects of Kill? Not just the fight choreography, but the entire film.
It was really well done. I think a lot of action is frenetic and choppy, and it wasn't in this movie. It flowed nice, and it was visually appealing, yet still brutal.
Yeah, and the thing about they do use martial arts, right? But the film also does this really good thing with the fighting, where it slowly becomes organic, where it kind of feels like they're just fighting just to survive. So it's not as like heavy with the choreography where you can tell that they trained to fight, in certain situations. It looks like it really feels like the bandits are fighting, really fighting for their life. And Amrit too, like we talked about this earlier. I love when he's fighting. because he gets the upper hand for majority of the bandits, right? But then we get a couple of kicks, and and truthfully, I think he got stabbed extensively in this movie, and that might be the only time he was superhuman because there's only so many stabs you can take, right, before you're like, I'm done. But you're fueled by revenge and emotions, so that fuels him. But now there was another death. Poor Amrit. I mean, his whole world is being rocked on this train in New Delhi, right? So he loses the love of his life, Talika, but then he also loses his best friend, Varish, his fellow commando. How did you feel about how Varish went out and like just your reaction to his death?
It was so visceral. It was heartbreaking.
It was. I mean, I thought for sure. I actually believed he was gonna make it. I was like, Varish is pretty banged up, And then as soon as Fawny did that, I mean, I gotta be honest, Paul. I mean, this guy was close to 3 strikes. Like one more strike, I was like, he's got to go because I mean, it's so insane. And Amrit does get his revenge, though. We can talk about some of the kills, right? He does kill Fawny's dad, Benny, and he does it in an extremely brutal way. He finds a Zippo can from looting the passengers, looking for something that can help him in his quest to get revenge and destroy the entire family of Fawny. I don't even know what their last name is, Paul. I'm just calling them Fawny. Fawny's gang, right? And he shoves in his mouth a can, which I'm pretty sure. I don't know if that's really possible, but I'll tell you right now, a bunch of teeth had to have been broken for him to shove that in his mouth. And then he has to fight another guy, but he's got a lighter in his hand, and he throws it, right? Now, this is the only part that I thought was outrageous, but it's okay because it's not super prevalent in the movie. It's just one instance, right? Where the dad's head goes on fire, and as you talked about, Fawny, who didn't even get along with his dad, is distraught. He's trying to save him. I think other family members who were fighting Amrit during this actually stopped fighting him and try to rush Uncle Benny to save him, right?
Right.
What did you think of what was your reaction to Uncle Benny finally biting it? Well, I mean lighting it, I should say.
Lighting it. Benny lighting it. It was intense. It was cathartic.
I mean, Benny was kind of a jerk, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, not as bad as his son, but he did some messed up things too. I was also happy. I'm not gonna lie, Paul. Amrit's lucky I wasn't really in that movie because I would have been in his ear the whole time. Like they killed your fam, they killed your love of your life.
Kill it now.
Yeah, I was like, light him up, light him up. Like I'm like, oh my god, yeah. I was clapping, because that's the fun part about these movies, right? Especially action movies. But when an action movie gives you something to really root and rally behind, a character like Amrit, who's a really good guy, you know, he just wants to be with this woman, right? He wants this woman, and they have a really good backstory. They do a little bit of some flashbacks with her during some of the kills that really show you that Amrit might be a commando, but he's really just a regular guy like you and I who's just found somebody special in his life. And yeah, so when Benny went and Fawny was now, we knew it was coming, right? As soon as Benny goes down, the showdown between Fawny and Amrit begins. And I'm not gonna lie, I was waiting like it was watching the Royal Rumble. I couldn't wait. I was like, here we go. Because we knew that Amrit would have the upper hand in hand-to-hand combat. Not to say that Fawny was a chump, but Amrit's more skilled. And unlike the tall big dude, you know, I think Fawny's best attributes would be his quickness and his ruthlessness and what he'll do to get on top, right? So they have an epic battle. What did you think of the Fawny versus Amrit final showdown?
Loved every second of it.
Right? I mean, and then it's funny. I know you know this too. In that showdown, right? Of course, Fonnie gets the upper hand in the beginning, right? And he starts kind of, but then Amrit storms back, and then there's that moment where Amrit's on the ropes, right? And I think if I'm correct, Fonnie taunts Amrit and says like, "You're gonna be joining you're gonna join Talika in what's about to happen," right? He's like taunting him, right? Let me tell you, Paul. I don't know if you ever been in a fight?
Been in a few. I've lost all of them.
Okay. I'm not gonna ask you why you lost the fights. At least you showed up. That's all that matters, okay? Now, let me ask you, yes or no, do you think when you have somebody on the ropes, do you think it's best to taunt them right before you deliver the final blow?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So Fonnie has him down, and there's this flashbacks, I think, of Talika, and as he's saying, like, you're gonna join your love of your life, and he's about to deliver the final blow. Let me tell you, you've already activated kill with Talika 45 minutes into the movie, right? You've now activated finisher in terms of the kill version now, because as soon as he says that, as he's about to lay the final blow, Amrit turns around and I mean he wrecks him. And I think he uses a sledgehammer actually to the foot, to the face, and Fonnie's realizing that maybe this is not going to go his way, right? And it's an epic showdown. And then he finally finishes Fonnie, but gotta say, that final fight did not disappoint. But let me tell you, the cool part about this, at some point during this showdown, and I'm sure you noticed it too, was they have like kind of like a close up of each one as they're looking, and Amrit's in kill mode. Like he is looking at him like, I'm gonna tear your face off. You have no idea what you've done. And this good acting from both, but the actor who played Fonnie, I don't know if you saw that, if you noticed this. Did you notice that he gets really scared? And there's a moment where he's thinking of running. I don't know if you saw that part where he's contemplating whether or not he should take off.
I did not notice that. And I just watched it.
Yeah, it's all good though because there's so much to absorb in this movie. So like it's hard. Like there's stuff that we've probably not even covered. But yeah, there's a part, by the way, that he looks like he's about to run, but I mean, you can't run. The option has been destroyed. You were already off the train, by the way. You didn't even need to come back on. I just want to state this. He would have been fine. They may have found him later. It's crazy. Now, there's one part of the movie I wanted to talk to you about that is way back in the beginning. We're gonna come back to the beginning. Was
Yeah, yeah.
as we talked about, Talika's is going to be in an arranged marriage, but she really wants to be with Amrit, and Amrit surprises her in the by taking her into the train bathroom and revealing he's on the train, right? And then he does this romantic thing in the most awkward setting. Was inside the restroom, he proposes to her. But let me tell you why Amrit is a gentleman that some of us wouldn't even think about doing. Is he opens the window so she doesn't have to smell the stench of whatever somebody laid beforehand, right? Let me ask you, is that not the most romantic way to propose to someone, is in a toilet where you kind of open the window for them on a train?
Yeah, and when he's talking about the bouquet of aromas in the commode.
Yes, yes. When he says that, it made me laugh because I don't know why, but it's a movie, right? But as soon as he opens the window, there's a really nice little moonlight that comes in, right? Yeah, and you're just like, I couldn't even do that on my best day. If I wanted to propose to someone, I would have had them in the restroom after someone just took a number two, and with my luck, it stinks, it reeks, and they didn't flush. And then I'm like, hey, would you like to marry me? Like everything's going to shit, Paul, in my version of that. But yeah, I thought that was really hilarious and also kind of touching, and then it would become heartbreaking later on. But yeah, I had to ask you about the toilet proposal because I honestly thought he was gonna botch that, but he somehow maneuvers. I mean, this guy's a commando, so I guess I should expect that he can adapt to any situation, right? But yeah, that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, he finishes Fonnie, and luckily Ahana never got put in too crazy situations. She ends up back with her dad and her family. Luckily, they never figured it out. Even though even though there's a Wi-Fi guy there, by the way, the Wi-Fi guy, I don't know what happened to him, but I hope death came to him at some point. But I got to be honest, I had forgot about Wi-Fi guy until he decides to stand up, and I thought for sure he was going to expose himself. But if I'm correct, the last shot we see of him is he's gonna jump the train, but he sees one of his cousins get obliterated because the train's going too fast. Do we think Wi-Fi guy still tried to jump and died, or do you think he stayed on that train?
I think he stayed on that train, but I think he died.
Yeah, can you imagine like him trying to get off that train, and then he'd be shitting bricks coming out of that train because all the police there. But yeah, so Fani dies, and Amrit and Ahana embrace, and I felt so heartbroken for everybody that knew Talika, because it was just such a heartbreaking moment, because truthfully they had a stand-up son-in-law, right? Like they didn't like the bodyguard that they had didn't even last long, but Amrit was like on a roll. It just made me sad because they had a really good son-in-law right then and there. But then he gets out of the train, Amrit, and this made me laugh, by the way. I don't know if you noticed this too. The police and the medics are like putting people on like stretchers where they actually hold them, and he's just walking all beat up, and they have to do it because of the action movie. They have to do like a slow down thing with him, and but in my mind I'm like, how's nobody trying to get him on a gurney or a stretcher? Like nobody's checking out. He just sits down on a bench, and he has this flashback of Talika, which by the way, didn't you think that was so touching? And because it goes back to something from the beginning, was this flashback of when they're looking at each other's hands and they're talking about, like, I think Talika, this is really heartbreaking, which he says like, you have something on your hand that says I love you more. She's like, oh really? Or something like that. And then he looks at hers and he's like, you're gonna have a long life. Isn't it heartbreaking and then she's like, we'll share that life together. Oh my god, Paul, I was rocked. I'm a hopeless
I
romantic.
was too.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think about the ending? Like, what do you think about the final ending after the Fani battle? Like, what happens? Like, what do you think?
I think it's a good ending. I don't know if there's another way you could end that movie.
Yeah, I mean, actually, yeah. How do you? I mean, he could have died, right? But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, I think the way I interpret, how did you interpret the final thing when they, they did a little flashback with Talika about living? Like, how do you interpret that with the ending?
He's so exhausted that he's hallucinating about the love of his life. And especially when she says, do we have to die to be together forever?
Yeah, I
It really hit me.
yeah, that really hit me too. I guess now you actually said the full quote. Thank you for that. Yeah, I think I interpret that he's gonna get healthy again. He'll get taken care of, and I think that despite the unfortunate reality of what happened, that even if she's no longer here, she's technically gonna always be with him. So they're gonna live that life together, and I think that's beautiful, right? I mean, I'm not happy that she died, but see, that's a really good ending for an action movie, right? Like, how many action movies are really hammering in something that dramatic? Usually the hero succeeds, right? We hope he does, and he rides off into the sunset. And this is like you were talking about earlier. This is pretty grounded. Where yeah, he's just so exhausted that he just sits there, reminisces about living a life together, and so at the end of the day, he did exactly what she would have wanted him to do, was find my little sister, protect my family, and not, hopefully not die. You know what I mean? Because that's why she died in the first place. She was trying to defend herself, and also Amrit was behind her in the other car, so she's trying to protect him from Fani, right? So he doesn't get in there, because if he would have got in
Yeah.
there quicker, he could have possibly killed Amrit, right? Him and the tall big dude could have, double teamed him and killed him, but It's a beautiful movie. Damn, I'm not gonna lie, Paul. That messed me up. I'm thinking about as I'm thinking about it more and more, and I'm going, "Ugh." But that's the beauty of this type of action movie where it is bittersweet, right? It's bittersweet, and you're right. There's no other way this movie could have ended.
I just wanted to point out this wasn't my first encounter with Aksha and the guy who played Bonnie.
Yeah.
I actually watched a web series that was on Netflix called The Bads of Bollywood, where they played best friends.
No way. No
Yeah,
way. How was that? As them as were they that believable?
yeah. It just blew me away when I after I watched it and was like researching about the movie, and I was like, wait, I know these actors.
And I'm glad that you watch a lot of movies where I would never have known that. Now I'm like, I gotta see these frenemies interact. But yeah, so you that's cool that you saw them. Yeah, I think they're very good actors. Like, to me, I would love to see more international films with really good actors and performances kind of get some opportunities in America because I was really blown away by the good Amrit and Fani, the actors who played them. Just really, I mean, really good movies. And one thing I'll say about this too, if you're listening to this and you heard us talk about it being in Hindu, I'm gonna tell you right now, the best thing you can do for yourself in life is be okay with watching subtitles. Because if you were not willing to do that, you would miss a movie like Kill, right? Like, it is incredible action that could rival some of your favorite action movies. And truth be told, I don't know about you. Oh well, yeah, you watch a lot of international stuff, so you're good with it too. Subtitles don't bother us, right? Like we're just rolling with the movies.
Yeah. If there's one thing you take away from this entire podcast, please let it be watch more foreign films.
This is one of my favorite. I'm gonna be honest. This is one of my favorite action movies. I love this movie. If you couldn't, if you thought I was excited about Smashing Machine, I'm telling you, Paul's going like, dude's on fire with Kill. Like the way I don't think I've shown this much personality with the Smashing Machine. Probably because Dawn was driving me nuts, to be honest. But this is a really good movie. Now, for you, would you consider this one of your top action movies? And also, it's a two-parter, would you consider this a top modern day action movie?
Yes to both.
Perfect. Yes. Now, here we go, Paul. This is where it gets real dicey here. People
Okay.
are over an hour into this are going, I wonder what these two guys will rate Kill, but out of 100%, what would you rate it?
Personally, 85%.
85%. I've drank the Kool-Aid here, Paul. I would give this a 91. I couldn't get enough of this. I mean, this is insane work. So imagine if you think I'm jacked up for this, Paul, wait till I do a movie like The Raid. And wait till that starts happening because I love The Raid. Yeah. Yeah, I just really dug this. To be honest, if the movie didn't have any emotional weight to it or aspects, it would not have the monumental effect as it did on me. And I think that's why
Yeah.
it resonated. But for both of us, that sounds like we had a blast with it.
I really don't like writing movies. I just love them.
Yeah, I mean, and truthfully, the way we rate them, we're pretty much in the same wavelength, 85 to 90. We're pretty much. I mean, that's pretty good. Now, this is a question I'll ask you. I own it. Actually, I have the steel book of it. Would you own it on physical media, and would this be something you rewatch?
It is something I really want. I watched it Friday for the first time and just watched it again today.
This is what I want to hear on the Tomorrow Comes Movie podcast. Okay, listen up, future guests. We want to hear that you love the movie so much that you're jacked up that you're like, I'm gonna watch it twice before I get on here with Patrick. That's truthfully that's music to my ears, and I'm really glad, Paul, seriously, that you chose this movie because you you were, as soon as I put up the list, you chose it. I was like, perfect. And you hadn't seen it prior to this, so anything else on Kill?
I'd like to say that one of the stunt directors did a whole bunch of stuff for the Tigers in the High movies and War, and so a lot more Bollywood movies, and I love those movies too. So it was like great to see
Okay, so you are familiar with the director.
the stunt director, not the director himself.
Oh, okay. Oh, and so the stunt director, is he is his stuff with those movies just as good as Kill?
I think Kill's better.
I mean, hats off to the stunt director. I wish I had it. Yeah, the one who choreographed everything and really worked, and the whole stunt team. To be honest, I mean, that was an incredible.
Yeah,
Like, we talk about the main actors, right? But everybody in this movie had to play their part, especially in the action choreography, and that's how awesome all these performers are. Because this movie wouldn't even be a tenth, 1/4 or 1/10 of how good it was if you have lackluster choreography. But yeah, thank you, Paul, so much for coming on. I hope you had a good time. I hope you are enjoying, being on this podcast with me.
it's one of my favorite things.
And of course, before we let you go, where can we find you, Paul, on social media or Letterbox if somebody's tuning in for the first time and they're like, I'm Paul's my guy.
That's Food Slam.
Perfect. Perfect. And so, wow, folks, 2 podcasts in, I'm pretty sure I'm not a mind reader. I can't predict the future, but I'm pretty sure that Paul will come back just as much as I think if Amrit's on a train again and somebody kills another one of his loved ones, he's going into kill mode. So thank you so much, Paul, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I cannot wait to have you back on. I love the enthusiasm that he has. He loves to come onto the show and talk movies, and it's always been fun to do. But I got to be honest, without the introduction, that episode was rolling. I mean, it was fast. I mean, it felt like we made our own version of Kill, except we didn't actually hurt anybody. We just podcasted and we weren't on a train. So it's nothing like Kill, actually. Well, anyways, this is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate anybody who dedicates a little bit of their precious time to hear the Patrick, myself, or any of my guest co-hosts who are on the particular episode that you're listening to, including this one. It's fun. If you're listening to it on a podcast app, you haven't already done so, please hit the follow wherever you get your podcast, whatever app. We're on everything: Spotify, Apple, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon. I haven't said that one in a while. Amazon, we're on that, and much more. And when you hit that follow, you'll know exactly when new episodes drop. But if you want to get even more ahead of what's coming soon, because I do tease it, then you want to follow our social media pages at TOCMovies on Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. I always forget one. Yeah, definitely follow us there because sometimes I will tease what's coming soon for the next episode. And one last thing, I don't think I mentioned it on the last episode. I never know when these are going to come out. They release at different points depending on how the recording goes. Oh yeah, if you want to be on the show, you can be on the show, especially if we know each other, in real life, or you're an awesome Twitter mutual. All you have to do is reach out if I haven't already, and just know that this is an audio and video podcast. So if you want to come onto the show and you're fine with that, let's do it. If you're not comfortable with the video version being released, it's not a problem. Just let me know. We're still going to record. It'll still be in video because I'll see you. So I know not to talk over you, but it won't come out when I drop it. It'll just be the podcast artwork and an audio part of the podcast. So yeah, reach out. And that's it, folks. So I am the Patrick, your host. Until next time, stay tuned for another episode of Tomorrow Comes Movies.